Hi, Uniquely Cindy here. I am in the old portion of the cemetery here at Thyatira, and in this part of the cemetery we have graves going back to the early 1700s. I'm going to show you a few of them. There is no way we can go over all of them. The closer you get to the front of the cemetery there, of course, you have newer graves. Now, as I read on the board when we came in, there are a lot of unmarked graves out here because they believe that there are graves actually going back possibly even to the 16 and late 1500s. So it is a very interesting cemetery to visit. Some of the graves you cannot read. The limestone's been worn away with the etching. They have come in on some of them and put down new markers beside the original stones. But there are a lot out here we cannot see, but I am going to show you the stones, because the stones themselves are amazing. Now, if you'll look around the border of the cemetery, it has a stone fence, which is common for the 1700s to build up the cemeteries and line them with the stone fencing. If you remember when I was up in the mountains, we saw a lot of this also. But you can see the stone fencing, and they have stone gateways that you could come in the different places here in the cemetery. I'm going to take it a little slow. The ground out here is very uneven, but it is a well-kept cemetery. They take care of it out here, and it's pretty. And as you can see, this is what I was talking about, where the limestone has worn away, and you can't read a lot on these graves. These go back to the 1700s. There's a couple that I'm looking for out here that I want to show you. And so we're going to look for a few minutes and see what we can find. Let's see what this one reads. I think I can make this one out. I'll cut my flashlight on here, so give me just a second. Okay, this, can't make out the name, but it says son of, looks like Bradshaw, born 1867 and died in 1889, 22 years and 20 days. We're still in some of the 1800s here. Born looks like 87, no, it's got to be 83, and died in 1886. And here we have one laying down on the ground. Born 1836, died 1884. 47 years and 7 months. There are veterans from, I think, every war that the United States has been involved in, both colonial days and modern days. There's the American Indian War, there is the Revolutionary War, World War I, World War II, Civil War, and I have found graves from every one of them. It's a little ironic for me, or ironic's maybe not the right word, unusual for me to walk up to a grave and see a marker on it honoring somebody for being in the Revolutionary War, because that's just not something that I see a lot out here. But in western North Carolina, there is quite a few cemeteries, I am finding out, that has a lot of Revolutionary veterans in it. This is a daughter, died in 1877, 4 years and 1 month and 27 days. Also, a lot of the older graves, I find that they document it right down to the days that the person or individual lived. Now, this is John Kerrigan. He was the pastor of Thyatira from 1814 to 1822, and he died in 1822. We mentioned him when we first came into the cemetery back on the first video that I did on Thyatira. And all these videos will go up this coming week, so y'all keep an eye out for them. Here we're getting into some more of the older ones. Just looking at the shape of the tombstones, they're pretty. You can tell that they were intended to last for a while, but time, weather, and life just goes on. These are early 1800s. This one died in let's see if I can make that out. 1890, born in 1832. Amelia Schaefer. And you'll see lots of them, of the older. They've got a simplistic look to them, as far as they're not ornate like you see in the Victorian era, but they're beautiful. They're history. And as you know from previous videos, I love history. They all tell a story. There is a beginning and there is an end. And there's something in between that beginning and that ending. I'm going to go down here. I did see one grave I wanted to show you. A lot of these markers out here, even on the news side, they're modest. Now here's one in memory of Margaret King, deceased July 7th, 1785, wife to Richard King. Richard King was born in 1705 and passed from 1787. And then it lists all their children and their dates of birth, and just tells when they were born. And all this goes back to the 1700s. You know, a lot of times when my generation thinks about America, we usually start at the Civil War and come up to today. But we have a whole history before the Civil War, and I think it's sad that our children are not learning about the sacrifices that it took to found our country, what it took for us to be here today and have the privileges that we have, what Hamilton and Washington and Polk, his family's out here, and all of them fought to give us. And then as we go down through history, what our soldiers have fought that we can maintain. I think we abuse the privilege today of being an American. Now, if you'll look here, this tomb here, and there's a bunch of them out here, it's got what looks like a dove ascending into heaven. And it's written in Old English. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it says, "Here lies, L-Y-S, the body of the Millie," looks like it should be Rowan, "departed this life September the 18th of 1774. And I saw on one of the tombstones out here before I got my flashlight out, one of them says, and there's several of them in the Old English, that instead of saying departed or deceased, instead of saying departed, they say they deceased this life. So it's interesting to read the different types of language down through our history. John Lawrence, born 1717, passed 1781. Now I wanted to show you this grave. This is John Knox, 1708 to 1758, and his wife, Jean Gracie, 1708 to 1772. Now, they were natives of Scotland. Also, their 7 sons who became soldiers of the American Revolution: William, Samuel, James, Absalom, John, Joseph, and Benjamin, and their daughter, Mary. Now, this monument was erected in 1911, but they are buried here. And If you'll look, you'll see James beside his name. There's something else written there. And it says the grandfather of the president, James Knox Polk. Now, James Knox was the 11th president of the United States. And this was his great, this was his great grandparents. John and Jean was his great grandparents. So I think it's amazing. You know, you don't have to go to Arlington to see founders of our country. All you got to do is know where to look in the areas in which they were born. Here, his great grandparents came from Scotland. They came to America. They came to Rowan County. They started a family. They had these sons that fought in the Revolutionary War. They had a daughter, and their one son became the grandfather of President James Polk, the 11th president of the United States. And I love the history. Every stone tells a story. And here you'll see some beautiful old stones. I love the architect on it, as you see the arching on it. I don't know if we're going to be able to make out much. It says, sacred to the memory of Benjamin Conyers, maybe, who departed this life November 1828. Age 79 years and 5 months and 23 days. Once again, right down to the day. And then we have another beautiful archwork here. It says, sacred to the memory of Annie H., wife of Benjamin Carver, who departed this life January 13th, 1810, 52 years, and if the days and months was on there, I cannot read it at this moment. Then we have one more here with beautiful artwork, and it says, this one just says, in memory, Susanna, I can't make out the last name, maybe Emery, beloved, nope, I don't know what that word is, R-E-L-I-C-T, of Henry Cowan, who departed in April of 1810, also of Reb County, in the memory, who departed 1810. That one was kind of hard to read. And so all through here, we had these old tombs going back to the early to mid 1700s. Now I'm going to take you over here because there's a couple other graves that I want to show you. As you can see, a lot of these 1700s are slate work. As you can see here, they're carved out of stone. And actually, I don't know if it's stone or slate. It says, here lieth, L-Y-T-H-E, the body of Drew Morrison. This one says, deceased this life. 1770, age. This one was 2 years old. So it's interesting. I'm going to walk down here. Lots of beautiful work here. But I want to get over here to a couple of the graves that I came out here to show you. I came out here to show you the president's family. Lots of doctors out here too. This one was pretty. I love the scroll work on here. It says, in memory of the Reverend Samuel Sebus McCorkle, D.D., 1746, licensed in 1773, ordained in 1777, died in 1811. So the older tombs and the older graves, they tell a story. And it's those stories that I like to find out stuff about. You have a lot of people who founded this area that is buried out here. I'm going to take you down here and show you this one. And then we're going to go to 4 very special graves. Here you have, this one's marked a patriot, Matthew Locke, 1730-1801, patriot, early and devoted friend to the people. If I could find the Revolutionary markers again, I will show you a couple of those. They lay flat in the ground, so I've probably walked past a couple. You see the one grave that we're coming up to? This is actually a memorial. It's got the urn, the Grecian urn on top of it. And this is in memory of Francis Locke, Esquire. He was the late judge of the Supreme Court of Law and Courts of Equality in North Carolina. This monument is erected in his private life. He was devoted for his fairness, his frankness, and his serenity, his gentleness and benevolence. In public life, he was respected and admired for his firmness, integrity, and decisions. On the bench where he presided for 10 years, he sustained the authority of the law and gave dignity to the administration of justice. He was born in Rowan County in 1766, appointed judge in 1803, resigned his appointment in 1813. He died in 1823. He died at 56 years and 3 months. What a wonderful testimony to his public life. Now let's make our way back here quickly. Most of the graves that we have seen out here have just been your basic in-ground burials. We do have, as you can see coming up here in the future, there we go, we have a chest grave. Now these were graves that were dug, and the person is buried in the ground, but the cement or the rocks or the bricks were built around the grave with the slab put on top. Some of the studies that I have done says this was to protect the graves from grave robbers and or predators that would be in the area at the time, wolves, coyotes, and etc. Now, I want to show you 4 very special graves here. And let's see if we can get a good close-up. Now, if you'll look at this grave here, you will see it has a skull and crossbones. And somebody's been leaving money here that lets them know they've been visited. This one has a skull and crossbones. This one also has a skull and crossbones. And this one has just the crossbones. And you see the mementos of people who have visited the graves. Now these 4 tell a story here. These guys, there's no names on them, so I don't know who they are. And from my understanding, there are no names in the church records. But these guys lived in another part of North Carolina. They were pirates. And when they got done with their pirating, they decided to leave it, and they come up here to Rowan County. And when they came to Rowan County, they became farmers. And they lived their lives, and they farmed. They integrated themselves into the community. Time went on, though, and somebody found out who they were. And it was reported to the law. The law arrested them, and they were tried for their crimes, and they were executed. I could not find the source of execution. I'm going to make the assumption they were hung, but they were executed, and they were allowed to be buried in this graveyard, which is surprising, being the fact that this is sacred ground and they were criminals. Now, one of the conditions of them being buried in the graveyard was they could not have their names on the stones, and they had to have the cross, the skull and the crossbones on their graves. So these 4 graves have an interesting history, and they say dead men tell no tales, but these guys' histories tell a tale. They say that, hey, we left a life, we came out of it, we tried to integrate ourselves into a community, but we still had a debt to society to pay, and our peers made sure we paid it. So, gentlemen, I don't know what to say to you, but in memory to these pirates. Rachel, I hope you enjoyed that. Once again, I am at Rowan County, Thyatira Church, beautiful church history. I hope you were able to watch the videos that I have posted on this church. It was absolutely gorgeous. Mr. Charlie, who played the organ, the piano, and the keyboard for us while we were in there, he is a master musician. I mean, that pipe organ just sounded wonderful. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed our time together. It's been a unique trip, a unique day with unique findings. So, hey, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know what you would like to see on Uniquely Cindy. Have a great day and a Happy New Year.